Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are looking at our favorite video of the day, player props. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. We got a couple other videos for you today on this Wednesday night slate as well. Nate's got his great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you as well. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight's player props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, PG is back for the Clippers, and that means we are liking his props tonight against a Kings team that doesn't really want to play any defense and is missing some key guys, of course, due to COVID protocols, including De'Aaron Fox. So recently, they've just been giving up a ridiculous 46.5% from three in their last three games. I mean, some of that is they played Steph Curry and the Warriors in that span, but that is just the highest mark by far, the highest mark we've seen all season in a three-game stretch. So, and it just strikes me that PG's points, his three-pointers prop is only 2.5 right now at even money at FanDuel. I gotta love that. I mean, the guy is averaging 2.9 triples per game on 8.3 attempts on the road. Yet he's averaging 2.8 triples on the same amount of attempts in 13 games against SAC. He went 15 points, 10 assists. He shot just 5 for 21 against the Kings in their last meeting, but still hit 3 threes, 3 for 7 from deep. You know, it's almost to the point where he's going to have a better chance of hitting threes than he is of a mid-range shot because that's the way the NBA has evolved, and that's PG's game. He seems to be in better rhythm when he does that step back and gets behind the line. Obviously, the usage rate is going to be there. So you could look at his points at 25.5. I like the threes more just because it's an exploitable number, but he should be scoring. You know, he scored 26 in his return against the Spurs, and, his usage rate was 36% in that game. It was down in 3 games before he sat with the elbow injury, which kind of indicates that something was awry. But prior to that, he posted a 42% and 30% and 40% usage rate against the Pelicans and Warriors. Marcus Morris still out due to protocols, so PG should be hoisting tonight against a team that plays at the fastest pace in the league right over the last month.
Yeah, for sure. And, after missing those games, that he did recently, PG, that Clippers team just plummeted even further in their offensive rating in their last 5, where he's only played one of those games, down to about the 4th worst offensive rating. Incidentally, the Lakers are the worst offensive rating. Just use that moment to get that in there in the last 5. They're looking bad too. But yeah, this one for Paul George, somebody's got to score for them, and he's finally back. I like that 3-pointers prop a lot. So this used to get, especially since you get that even money there. So feeling good about that one. I'm moving on to a man after my own beard-colored red velvet, Kevin Huerter on the Hawks there. And it's really, you start with simply who's not playing for the Hawks. And that's why you feel really good about red velvet. No Trey, no Clint, no Gallo, no Bogey. Obviously, DeAndre Hunter's still out. So who's going to score besides red velvet, for this team? Probably get some other guys in there with John Collins, but 13.5 points for red velvet tonight, minus 120 on DK. I would feel pretty good about that considering, like we said, what he does without Trey this season. His usage rate jumps up about 4 percentage points when Trey sits. And at home, Huerter's been pretty good this season as well. In his last 5 specifically, he's gotten over that 13.5 points, 14 points a game, 3.5 assists on about 45 from 3 and 100% from the line splits there. So feeling pretty good about how he's shooting, especially as of late at home. On the season, he does a little bit better at home, averaging about 12 points on really, really good splits as well. And then, they're playing Orlando. So if you want to throw a player performance double in there. You can get him to get 15 points and a W. You only need one more point than his point total and a win for this team. You get those odds all the way up to plus 176 for Huerter. Feel really good about that. Orlando, we know they're a bad team. We know they're not going to be doing much this season. They give up a ton of assists, the second most in the league. They also allow the fourth most 3-pointers in the league. So, a couple other player performance doubles available on FanDuel if you're interested. Huerter to hit 3 threes and a win, that's plus 172, or 4 assists and a win, that's plus 100. He is definitely going to have the ball in his hands a bunch more and will be putting it up. I think at the end of this one, my favorite one there for him is that 15 points and a win, getting you all the way up to plus 176. But go ahead and feel really good about that one, getting all that juice back.
Yeah, I mean, no Trae Young, no Gallo, who probably would step up and shoot a lot for the Hawks there. So Huerter's going to not only be playing a lot, just shooting a lot more, he's going to be facilitating a lot more. And Orlando gives up the second most assists per game, along with the fourth most triples. So I think you can look at some bonuses there as well. Three threes in a win is plus 172. And look at his props for just assists. But yeah, if you're only going up 1.5 more points to get, to go from minus 120 to plus 175, and we know the Hawks are still going to win at home against Orlando, which is just shorthanded and probably the worst team in the league. So love using the bonuses there to get some juice.
Yep.
I'm taking our first under in a while here. I know Darius Garland is the only guy standing really for the Cavs right now, but I think that the lack of weapons around him means he's not going to be able to get his usual assist numbers. You look at it, he was averaging 7.8 assists per game over 5 appearances before Evan Mobley and others started to hit protocol. And in his last 3, he's only getting 4.7 assists per game. He only has 14 assists over his last 3 meetings with Boston and has very poor shooting splits in his career. 35% from the field, 23% from deep against the C's. Marcus Smart hounding him a little bit there. His points per game down from 21.5 to 17 on the road. And he only is getting a few free throw attempts per game, in those matchups with the Celtics. So that's not necessarily going to save you there. I was trying to talk myself into him getting, because the odds are good. You get plus odds for him to go over 7.5 assists or over 28.5 points and assists. But the reality is I just don't think he's going to get there with him, being the focal point of this Cavs offense. I think the Celtics can really hone in on him and make him get into some bad situations. I think you could take the combined under on that 28.5 and feel pretty good, just in case he comes up with 10 assists, but only scores 14 points. I just don't think he's going to pile up both categories here against a Celtics team that's playing a lot better defense of late.
For sure. And the Celtics team who gives up the third least amount of assists to their opponents a game. So yeah, really feel good about that under 7.5. If you wanted to find an over for Darius Garland, you might consider his 3-point prop only because of the juice you get on it. If he makes 3 threes tonight against the C's, that's plus 140, plus 142 specifically on FanDuel. That's the only one that I would consider for him because as you said, I do think he's going to be pulling a bunch more with a bunch of his weapons sitting tonight. And the fact that, driving into the lane and kicking to big men tonight isn't going to be available to him without any of his big men really playing, including Isaac Okoro. So under assists, if you wanted to sprinkle something on him for an over, it would just be those threes, just because I don't know who else is going to be scoring for them, and that might be the only option available at times for him. So last one for me is going to be my guy Jrue Holiday on the Bucks. Starting with the fact he's playing the Rockets. Last time out against the Rockets, the Bucks did win by about 9, failing to cover, but Jrue Holiday had a pretty bad game by all concerns. There wasn't many stats to go around for Jrue, considering Giannis had 41 and 17 in that game against the Rockets. But his 12 points, 7 assists, and 3 boards on really bad shooting, 37% from the field, and he went 0 for 6 from 3. So I think he's got a lot, without Giannis playing tonight, and the fact that Drew's coming off a nice little rest for himself. I think he's going to be putting up big numbers tonight. You look at what he does when Giannis sits this season, not surprisingly, his point total goes up from 17 per game on the season to 25 when Giannis sits, 9.5 rebounds as well in that time frame, and 5.5 assists. Reverse that, 9.5 assists, 5.5 boards when Giannis sits. So that 9.5 assists and 25 points is really, really nice for him. You can take Drew's points at 19.5 and feel really good about it. I am looking for him to score tonight against a Houston team that might be without Christian Wood. And when they are without him, they have about 130 defensive rating. I said they give up 130 points per 100 possessions when Christian Wood sits, giving a lot of opportunity for Jrue. They also give up the 6th most points to opposing point guards, do the Rockets, also spelling pretty good numbers for Jrue tonight. So I think, really you look for the player performance double with him. If he scores 20 points, which is basically his point total, his prop there at 19.5. But if he gets 20 in a win tonight for the Bucks, that's plus 134 on your money. I think you feel really, really good about that, and don't really need to look too much further for the best odds available for Jrue Holiday tonight. Yeah,
and he's had some nice games against Houston, which doesn't play much defense. 29-10 and 20-8 in their final 2 regular season meetings last season. Obviously, he'll be asked to do a lot more without Giannis and has stepped up in that span. And I think that the Bucks, will look to rebound tonight with Jrue and, of course, Chris Middleton leading the way. I think they will easily pull that off. You mentioned in the video that Chris Middleton 20 points in a win gets you good juice on that money line, and I like that even more as that particular bonus. But I think Holiday can still get over his points and assist props.
Yeah, and it's similar to what we're talking about with Garland, or excuse me, rather with Red Velvet. You get one more point and a team victory gets you a ton more juice for your money there. So you might as well consider that if you really like these teams to win, like I do for Milwaukee tonight with a really defenseless and helpless Houston Rockets team. So that is all the time we have on this one, y'all. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Check out those other couple videos we have for you on tonight's Wednesday night slate. And until we see you next, happy betting.